call our meeting to order. It's good to see everyone. Glad to have everyone here this Thanksgiving week, and we in Tifton certainly have a lot to be thankful for. At this time, I'd like to call on Councilman Johnny Terrell, who will lead us in our prayer, and then following that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Johnny?
Would you bow with me, please? Our Father in heaven, we come again, Master, to praise you and to thank you. To praise you for being Almighty God who got all powers in your hand. And to thank you for this assembly here this afternoon, Father. Father, we ask that you'll come in the midst of us and let us agree to disagree. But Father, just come in and bless this meeting and have your way. Father, bless these United States of America and the troops, wherever they are, on foreign land. Put your armor protection around them. We thank you for these and all your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Johnny. All right, you have before you an agenda, and for those of us that don't have one there, back there on the podium, if you'd like to pick one up and follow along, we have them here on our computers. I need an approval of the agenda, or a disapproval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda with the exception of item number 25 on the back. Councilman Sales not being here, who's been vocal around this discussion, I'd rather not have it without him.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda with the exception of item number 25, service delivery discussion on water. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed, nay. So what do we do in the case of a tie?
Yeah, so that
What do we do?
motion fails. That motion fails.
That motion
In the case
failed?
of a tie?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so do we need to make a motion to
We need to make another motion to,
accept the agenda as presented?
that can be made.
I make that motion?
I will second that motion. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
No. Here we go again. No, I got some extra food here because we're gonna be here all night. Now what we do?
You'll just need to make another motion to approve those items on the agenda. I mean, you're gonna have to approve the agenda.
We got to approve the agenda. Yes. Okay.
That's
So
a-
moved.
The agenda as submitted?
Hold on now, what now?
What we have to do?
Basically, you know, if a motion doesn't carry, then you're gonna have to make another motion, and that's gonna need to be seconded, discussed, and then voted on. So you're gonna have to have a majority vote to approve.
To approve the
So we'll just keep
agenda.
voting until we
agenda.
get a majority vote of some sort?
Right.
Okay. All right, so you've made a motion to accept the agenda as presented, including item number 25? Is that what you're saying, John? I want to make sure.
Ooh. We don't want to discuss it. Do we have to vote on this tonight? Do we have to vote, if like on item number 25? Do we vote on this?
You can postpone it to another
Okay.
time.
Can we just
Postpone
discuss it
indefinitely.
but no vote?
Pardon?
We can discuss it, but no vote.
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
The only way there'll be a vote on that part is if somebody makes a motion.
Okay,
Mhm.
correct.
And then we would vote on that motion.
okay.
So right now, we're just approving the agenda, and then as, you know, depending on what items are on the agenda, then we'll move to those agenda items, and then decide whether or not somebody wants to make a motion on the agenda item, then you can vote, if that's what you want to do. Or if somebody can make a motion on an agenda item and postpone to a certain date, or postpone indefinitely.
Okay, there we go.
I'll make the motion
I second it.
to approve the agenda.
As submitted. Okay, so
As
a
it is.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. in your package, you also have the council meeting minutes of October the 16th, and then our workshop minutes of November the 9th. And you should have had a chance to read through those, and if they are acceptable, we can entertain a motion to accept each of those meetings minutes.
So moved.
All right, you want to do both of them together?
Both
John?
of them together,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next item on our agenda involves two presentations, one from Adrian Wood with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs on the Plan First designation. So Adrian, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's interesting, even in that state, SDS can be a problem. So we don't apologize. Thank you very much to all of you for allowing me to come tonight. I bring you congratulations and greetings from Christopher Nunn, who is the new DCA Commissioner. And if you don't know him, I hope you will get to meet him. He's quite a nice guy. And we seem to be going through them on a regular basis these days. So I hope you get to meet him soon.
Yes.
I want to commend Jessica and Pete for their application because it was an excellent application. In fact, we didn't even need to come down here and do a site visit, which out of the whatever 14 applications we got, there were only 3 that didn't get a site visit, and y'all were one of them. So that was an excellent application.
It was.
Plan First is recognized across the state for designating communities that do an exemplary job of planning and plan implementation. And we at DCA know how important planning is for sound economic development as well as other aspects of good governance. And as we all know, economic development is the end game for what we all do. It's based on the comprehensive plan, how you develop it and how you use it. You have joined 12 other communities this year being designated as Plan First, making it 24 across the state. So out of 159 counties plus 500 and whatever governments, there are only 24 that are designated Plan First. So we think it's pretty special. Your designation lasts for 3 years, starting January 1st, going through December 31st of 2020. And we will do an official presentation. This is the first of 2 official presentations at the Capitol. We hope January 31st, where we will give you a nice little plaque, and we'll go get our picture made with the governor. So I will be sending more information to Jessica and Pete as we move forward. The benefits of Plan First are quite nice for most communities. Statewide recognition, of course, for your achievements. Then we have a logo, which you're free to use on any and all publications. A plaque, which I just mentioned. CDBG eligibility every year, not just every other year. So if you get a CDBG grant one year, you can apply and receive one the next year, depending on the timeliness of your project. And that's outlined in the CDBG manual. Bonus points on certain DCA programs like Employment Incentive Program and Downtown Development Revolving Loan. And the one that is the most popular is the half a point off of GFA loans. So that has already saved City of Vienna over $300,000, and City of Madison, I think it's about $250,000. So that's a very popular incentive, and we're pleased we can offer it. You should have received, if you haven't already sent back, the memorandum of agreement that outlines these benefits as well as other responsibilities that we expect from you, like continuing to do a good job in planning and maintaining your qualified local government status and your service delivery strategy. Supporting a Plan First reviewer from TIfton when we do the reviews every June. Presenting at Community Planning Institute about the TIfton planning story, and promulgating the comp plan by having it available on your website. So I haven't looked to see if y'all's on there yet because you're not official till January 1st. So you won't be getting a finger shake from me yet if it's not. You have a month and a half. So
We're
Pete's
in the
looking.
process of reviewing and renewing our comp plan right now. So we've had some really good
Yes.
initial meetings about that. So
We're pleased that you're having such good luck so far. We hope it continues.
yes.
But I bring you today just a lovely, suitable for framing certificate,
Wonderful.
which I will give you, that can go with your plaque.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And I tell you, thank you so much. If you have not taken the time to read through this application, and it takes a few minutes to sit down and read through it, it is quite impressive. As a matter of fact, in reading through it, it really re-energized me to be excited about some of the things that we're doing. Sometimes you get so involved in just the day-to-day drive of, you know, what's going on with work and family and this little project here and this little project. But when you step back and take a look at where we are, I'm quite proud of our little city, and I'm certainly proud of Jessica and Pete. But I know, Jessica, you worked tirelessly on this. This application's very impressive. And it just I think will reaffirm if you haven't read through it, we're on the right track with what we're doing. And I'm just very proud of
I
our
agree.
community. And like I said, we're in the process right now of renewing our comprehensive plan. We're working with folks with the regional commission. We've got some more meetings coming up. Each meeting has a few more people at the table, which is exciting. And so we're thrilled about this, and just so honored to be selected, and certainly to be selected without going through some of the additional review processes that DCA offers with this designation. So thank you very much. It's quite an honor.
We thank you, and I really would kind of like recruit Jessica to come teach a class on how to do
She
an
could do it.
application.
She absolutely could do it.
We
Yeah.
don't get that quality with all of them.
Yeah, it was impressive. So I don't know if we could make that available, if it would worth having that application even
Oh,
online.
it's available on our website.
On your website, okay.
Yeah, we do
Because
that.
it's pretty impressive. So anybody in the public that's interested in reading through that can go to the DCA website, pull it up there, or certainly we can provide you with a copy of it. But
Right.
you did a great job, Jessica, and I'm
Do you
proud
have
of
any questions for me?
I do not. Do any of you have questions?
No.
Do y'all have any questions?
No,
I think
thank
we're
you.
good. Thank you
Thank you.
very, very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with DCA on this project.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
It's
Thank
exciting.
you.
Travel safely.
Mayor, before you call the next one, if I can make a statement,
Sure,
please.
please.
With regards to number 3, and let the minutes reflect, there was some confusion this morning that and really, to be fair to Mr. Golden, we are not doing any presentations, we're not doing any bids, we're not looking, our contract is not up, we're not doing anything with regard to solid waste collection. I want to
Right.
make sure that I said that for the record, and we did talk to Mr. Golden about that today. And we also learned something about the agenda, and it's very important that we decipher when someone wants to talk or someone wants to come and do a presentation. And if it's a presentation, it's a presentation. If public comments want to be made by public or an individual, then it needs to be listed as public comments only. And I think that's where some of the confusion was, that Fred is not doing a special presentation tonight. He just asked to
Right.
address the mayor and council, and that is his right to do so. But I wanted to, for the minutes and for you and for our audience, that we're not doing anything with our contract or with solid waste at this time. So
Right.
we just want to make sure that the minutes reflect that.
Okay, thank you, Pete. I appreciate that clarification. That being said, we do have with us Fred Wood and Bob Walk with Waste Pro. Gentlemen, I'll turn that over to you, or it's just you by yourself?
Yep.
Okay.
Another meeting in Atlanta.
Okay.
Hello, Mayor,
Hello.
Council, and staff. Thank you for taking the time, putting me on the agenda today. I'm Senior Vice President of Waste Pro. I'm one of the original founders of Waste Pro. We've grown a pretty good sized company, as some of you may know. I did go ahead and bring my little chart. It's kind of hard to see from here, but you can see all the different cities that we're in. We have a little over 200 municipalities now, city and county municipalities. Again, it's not time for the contract yet, and I'm very aware of that. But time goes fast, okay? So it's a couple years into it, 2.5 years, which means we got another couple years to wait. But typically we start looking at this sometimes a year before the contract actually gets voted on, and it's quite a process. So of course I asked Bob to join me tonight, but and I'll have Bob. I think it's our job at this point, because it is a couple years out. Certainly not every week, certainly not to bother you guys, but yet to come up and let you know who we are, what we're about, what I stand for, what we stand for. And the number one thing that we believe that we bring to the table is our service, our impeccable service. We have what we think to be course, everybody else does too, but we think it's the best service that can be provided. Like I say, I started the company with John Jennings. I'm on the board of directors. I've been doing garbage all my life. My parents own a garbage company. My grandparents own a garbage company. So even though I'm senior VP and I got these titles, I'm a garbage man. And I love this business. I love the people in the business. Bob Walk, he would have been with me here tonight, but you know, I hired him 15 years ago, you know, so, and he's still with us. That means a lot to us, employees that stay with you and stick with you for a long period of time. And we build these relationships, such as right now. You know, that's what I need to do over the next year or two. I need to build relationships with y'all, and of course, the staff, and hopefully a few customers too, because we at Waste Pro, we know who our bosses are. Okay, you guys, you are our bosses. You, the staff, and the citizens, they're our boss. If we have, it happens, I'd like to tell you we're perfect, but we're not. We make mistakes just like anybody else does. But the big key is when you make that mistake, what do you do about it? How do you correct it? Okay, and that's what we think we stand out very strong there. If we have a late set out, we know late set outs happen. It's not our job to argue whether it's a late set out or a missed pickup. Our job is to go pick up the garbage, okay, without having hopefully too many calls to the commission. That's what we're trying to make sure we don't have, so we don't have upset customers. Again, I can sit here for an hour or two and just chat with you because I love our company so much and I love what we do. But again, I'm just here a little early maybe, but just want to thank you. Thanks for letting me speak. And Bob and I'll be back a little from time to time. We just want to come back and probably start being more as we get closer to the contract. But again, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Do you have
so
any
much.
questions or anything that you?
Does anyone
I did
have
leave a card.
questions? Yes, we got those.
I left
yes.
a card on
Thank
everybody's
you.
desk. If
Yes.
you have any questions, anything at all, please call me. I can come down anytime. That's not a problem.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank
We
you. I look
appreciate
forward
it.
to
Thank you.
Look forward to our endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that concludes our special presentations. At this point in time, we have citizen input. Has anyone signed in for citizen input? Has anybody signed in, Houston?
Mr. Choate has.
Okay.
I think he's here for the John.
Right, okay, okay. All right. Okay.
Would you like to speak?
Okay. You're just here for your item on the agenda, right?
Do you wanna talk, Carter? Do you want to talk?
That's okay. You're just here for your agenda item, right?
That's right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I just want to be sure. Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and these are all items that we have discussed at our workshop. Several of them involved approving alcohol licensing, which happens this time of year, so that's items number 12 through 20. I do think we have an update on the LMIG project information, so if we can do a couple of things. If you want to go ahead and provide that update, Pete, before we get into the consent agenda, if that's okay with everybody, then if it's your favor, we can approve everything all at once, or we can take these individually or in groups, however you
Why
want
don't
to.
we take 7 and 8 out and then
Pull 7 and 8 out.
Okay,
allow for
Do the
Pete to
rest
talk
of them
about?
and
okay,
talk about those.
all right.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that 7?
I wanna pull 7 out.
And 8?
Okay, and Pete's got an update regarding number 8. So,
Okay, yeah.
So if someone would like to make the motion to the effect that we can approve the entire consent agenda with the exception of 7 and 8, we could go ahead and move forward and then come back and address 7 and 8 individually.
So moved.
Okay, so we have that motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, motion second. Is there any further discussion? You see what we're doing, right? Just pulling those two out. Okay. All right, seeing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, removing items 7 and 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Okay, excellent. All right, let's go back to item number 7.
I'll say this, we tried to do something similar to this a couple of years back, and we weren't able to do it. And it was because of what I called the G word last time, gratuity. So I don't see anything that has changed in the law since, what, 3 or 4 years ago when probably about 3 years, 3.5 years ago, when we looked at doing this. It was my first year on the council, whatever. But anyway, that's my discussion point.
I don't think it's legal based on what I've seen, so
Okay,
I'm opposed to it.
all right.
Well,
What I would suggest doing though is that, you know, we can, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, is we can provide, a dinner, like,
We have done that in the past,
Mhm.
and, you know, I don't see that that is a compensation, you know, to an employee for past services, so I've never had a problem with that aspect of it.
Just if you're not following along with your agenda, just to let everyone know, the item that we're discussing is recommendation for providing gift cards to city employees. And with a couple of our key people that normally coordinate the dinner for the city employees being out, maternity leave and sick leave and some different things that are going on, we thought the discussion was, should we just take the money that was budgeted for that party and provide some gift cards to our city employees? And I know our city attorney has investigated and looked into that. Is that legitimate, and could we do that? And it's his recommendation that we do not. However, I'm going to weigh in, and then we'll vote, and the vote will come out however it does, because that's what a democracy is. I feel that we should give the gift card to the city employees. This year has been an unusually difficult year for a lot of reasons. We've had 2 hurricanes. We had city employees who worked 24-hour shifts, who opened shelters, who cooked breakfast, who gathered items for the shelters, who went above and beyond the call of duty. And if someone wants to see us in court for giving a gift card at Christmas to employees who, pardon my French, busted their ass, you can quote me on that, to make sure that this city runs smoothly, efficiently, and effectively, then I don't have a problem with seeing you in court, and I will defend that all day long. I think these people deserve this. I understand what you're saying, and we'll vote. And if it ends up that the vote is we do not give these gift cards to these city employees, that's fine. I want them to know they are appreciated for what they did. They went above and beyond. Rob, I truly appreciate your keeping us out of trouble. That's just that's Julie Smith's statement. That's all that
Well,
is.
and then-
And you can take that to the bank. That's
You know,
all.
I will be the Scrooge if the.
Yes, Scrooge.
Well, and I'll say.
So,
it-
I just hate
It's not a
sometimes the
question.
limitations of government. I know, but
Well, the law is the law.
The law's the law. I know
And
that.
when we start picking and choosing
I
which
understand.
law we agree with and which
I
one
know.
we don't,
But there are many
then we
times.
cross that slippery slope.
I understand,
And whereas I absolutely agree with everything you said
I
about
know.
the employees
I
deserving
just
it, but
wanted
the law says you
to make
can't
that
do
simple.
it. And so the question is, the next time, well, I think we ought to do this. Well, the law says you can't. Well, but that's okay. I think you should.
understand.
I'll tell the chief's police when he stops me, well, I think I ought to be able to go 70. I can't help that the law says it.
But do you sometimes go 70 in a 50-mile zone?
No. I will tell you no. Have I gone 55, 60? Maybe so. But
I
a
know
vote
what you're
against, a vote against this does not mean we don't
I
think,
know.
or I don't think, that they deserve it.
I understand.
But I'm not gonna vote to do something that the attorney
Well,
said is illegal.
I know,
It's
but
not.
I will tell you that there are many municipalities that do this, that do
Right.
provide gift cards.
And
And if that's.
That doesn't make it legal.
I understand. Okay.
did you talk to any municipality that gives, that issues the gift cards?
I do know that it has been done in the past. I did reach out to 2 attorneys at GMA, and Susan Moore and Rusi Patel, who concurred with my opinion. I also talked to Will Sanders down in Thomasville, who's been a city attorney down there for over 30 years. He agreed with my legal opinion, but he also added everybody does it.
Right.
So that's true, but unfortunately, I can't base my legal opinion on what other folks did.
all right, let's just be honest with each other here. I mean, yes, they did bust their tail during the hurricane and the tornado and the stormy
They
season,
did.
and they've done a great job, don't get me wrong. Again, going back to what is, at the end of the day, what is legal and what is not legal is based on the Georgia Constitution. You provided us some pretty solid legal advice, and that's what we request of you as you work for the pleasure of the council. We appreciate you doing that, but at the same time, I agree with what you're saying, Julie. These folks busted their tails. I want to reward them in a way that we can. We've done this in the past. We've had some of our outside vendors provide gift cards that we were able to give away at this dinner, and I think we should continue that. I understand that, you know, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Jessica, but you look like you could, or somebody else, I don't know who, would be able to take on the additional responsibility of getting this planned out, you know.
I'll help.
Jack of help, you know, so he's retired, he has nothing to do, so I mean,
Okay,
but, you know.
I think we've discussed it. Does anybody want to make a, motion to some effect regarding item number 7?
Yeah, I make a motion, to not recommend providing gift cards to city employees based on legal advice from the city attorney.
All right, is there a second?
Second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, say nay. Nay. So 3, do you vote?
No, I didn't vote. I didn't vote that. And I don't wanna be here all night with this thing, but the law is the law.
Okay, so is that an aye to not vote, to not, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The motion was to not do the gift.
but,
Okay.
I go.
Okay, so
Not-
3-1, okay, no problem. All right, item number 8 is, the LMIG projects, and Pete, you wanna give us that update, and then we can approve that, or not approve
I
that?
will. I left at your spot an updated sheet. Jeff and the ESG team looked through this, scrubbed it again as far as costs, and we're gonna try a new industry standard called chip seal. And what this does is it coats the cracks, it coats the flaws in the pavement, it kind of covers up blemishes, and the resurfacing goes on top of that. And I will tell you, I think that will work because of the light traffic that these particular streets serve. So if you approve that these are the streets that we would carry forward, for a total of $522,124,000.
What was that called again, chip seal?
Chip seal.
And you've
And
seen that in,
Some of the guys, they're residential experts, if you want some questions.
Are
Scotty
these
can
the
show you.
ones with the sheets that we got? Is that,
This would be the list, yes, 40th Street, 16th,
I got 16 twice.
twice. Uh-oh.
yeah, just pull one of those out, I guess.
There should be another.
9th Golf, there's one more.
I didn't get one.
Is the Bullwood, hopefully the one that's missing?
Yeah, Bullwood was, I thought was.
Who's it, number 10?
There's a spreadsheet in the packet. I don't know if it's included what they updated, but those are the ones that I highlighted
The
what we
highlighted yellow are the
discussed.
ones that are gonna be done?
That's what we discussed last time.
I had to remove a couple because of the costs.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it should be Bullwood Boulevard. Well, no, actually, that's not right either.
Bullwood was nowhere.
No, I'm looking at the striping, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Mayor, if we could come back to that, I'll check my email, because there's a page missing.
Okay.
Must the copier ate it.
I was looking to see if there's, I don't see it in our packet, Jessica.
I didn't have it. I
Okay,
guess they just
okay.
got it today,
Yeah,
so.
just-
Okay, okay. All right, do you want to just put that at the end of the agenda and let you check on that? or-
Yes, let me do that, please.
Okay, all right. Okay. So we have approved the rest of the items on the consent agenda. We'll come back to that one in a few minutes. The next item on our agenda is the ordinance rezoning .46 acres at 421 West 10th Street from R14 to R10, and we had our public hearing on that. If you recall, Houston presented the information. The Shope family was here to share photos and information about that. That being said, I will entertain a motion regarding that application.
So moved.
All right, motion to accept it? Okay. So a motion second to accept that rezoning application. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, Carter? You're good? The next three items on our agenda are resolutions. The first item to discuss is the resolution opposing the de-annexation of cities. If you recall, Jessica presented that information to us. It's basically to support the recommendation from Georgia Municipal Association, the Legislative Policies Committee, and particularly the city of Stockbridge. We had some interesting discussion at our workshop, and if you'll see in your packet on page 133, you'll see what cities have supported Stockbridge with their resolutions. So that being said, I will entertain our participation or not in the resolutions for de-annexation.
I move we approve it.
We support.
Support opposing de-annexation.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. All right, thank you. The next item is a resolution allowing for alcohol sales on New Year's Eve, December the 31st. And we talked about that so that because of the way the New Year's holiday fell and it being Sunday and that kind of thing, that would extend serving until 2 a.m., I believe we said is what we do. So, and that
There was
resolution's in your packet.
a slight revision to that from the workshop, where we added that Monday
Right.
from 12 midnight until 2 a.m.
2 a.m., okay.
So that'll be the exception, just for that one day.
Just for that one
for
night,
that one
okay.
Monday.
All right.
So
And-
we can do that, that's what you're.
Yes, we can do that. Because the state law only regulates Sunday sales
Okay.
and not weekday sales, so we can do that.
But this is just that one, for that one event.
Just that
New Year's
one
Eve.
day.
Yeah. All right, and that resolution's on page 138 in your pack if you want to refresh your memory with that. But I'll take a motion with whatever your pleasure is regarding the resolution.
I move we approve the resolution.
Okay? Is there a
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next item for our resolution is accepting the LMIG funding for the Cowhouse Creek Development Project. And that we talked about at the workshop as well. Is there any?
Suggest you table that.
Okay, all right, we have suggested to table that particular item. So if someone would please make that motion.
Mayor, we'll just postpone that. Do you want to postpone it to an indefinite time or to a time certain?
We'll postpone it indefinitely.
Postpone indefinitely? So if somebody wants to make that motion to
I'll make that
postpone?
motion.
All right,
Second.
all right, so motion second. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so that will be postponed. Now we're down to the controversial number 25, service delivery discussion. So I will open the floor for comments.
Discussion only. One of the major points of our service delivery we've been talking about is water rates. We talked about this at our workshop last. We know that Councilman Sales had some strong opinions about that. But there's some issues that need to be addressed. I would, think that we can put together an interlocal agreement that would include this and other items possibly, to allow for some of these issues to be put to rest finally. And Jack, I know that you've been very boisterous on some issues that I would like your opinion on, some of these, and as well as Johnny, you've had some strong thoughts as well. I mean, basically all of us have, in my opinion.
Sure.
So, and that's what basically I was going to suggest tonight, but, we're not doing motions tonight, we're simply wanting to have a discussion about it. And so basically we would, form an interlocal agreement, and deliver that to the county.
On the equalization of water rates.
Yeah, and then of course we would address other issues, at the same time.
I mean, it's not a standalone issue. I realize some of the commissioners think that this, it is their issue. Well, there's other issues, other than water equalization rates that city residents have with the county. And we talked about them, about, the tax equity, but I'm not gonna address raising water rates for my constituents when they're overpaying county taxes. Just not gonna do it. I mean, and then we address all of them together because, you know, that's as simple as that.
Okay.
I agree with you, I agree with Jack about that. We are paying, my constituents are paying a city and a county tax. And we need to get this service delivery thing down to pat. You know, 'cause like, okay, I went out and spoke to some people earlier today, about this thing. And their idea of this thing is, it's been going on for so long. So the water rates have been up, skyrocketing or whatever. And we just decided now to address this thing. So now what we need to do, this is my opinion now, what we need to do, we need to get something in writing in our hand. So, okay, if we do this for you, it won't be no nitpicking around. You won't keep, every time I look around, you throwing something at me for me to, no. If we need to make an agreement, okay, if we agree to this, then you give us something in writing, give us something. We just can't just go and tell our constituents, hey, next month your water bill gonna be $2 higher, without something.
Well,
We got to have something.
Here's what I would suggest us doing is, you know, equalize water and base rates and consumption rates, you know, provided that the county is in agreement with the interlocal agreement that we provide.
We have to provide the agreement because we're
Okay.
providing the service. They
All right.
can't provide the agreement
Okay,
because they're not providing the service.
okay, we are providing the service.
Mhm.
We were gonna provide the agreement, and then
And
when I was
to
talking
the
earlier,
agreement.
when I was talking earlier about Jack's, other issues we have with tax,
Yeah, 'cause-
inequities, those could possibly be reviewed with inside this interlocal agreement
Okay.
and go from there. Obviously,
Right.
there's a lot to be discussed. I mean, basically, there's
There-
a lot of things on the table from their aspect, and there's a lot of things on the table from our aspect that we're gonna want. So, you know, in the spirit of working together, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we gotta do. Now, I understand we have to work in the best interest of our constituents, but we're one team. The city and the county, and Omega and Tata, we're all one TIF County.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So, you know, they have some things that we would like to see changed, and they'd like to see some things that they would like to see changed, and we can do that within this interlocal agreement. That's basically what I was proposing, tonight.
And I completely support that. There has been discussion about this in previous meetings where we all have sat here and said it was a commitment that was made
Yeah.
from a previous council.
From 05.
Right, and that we needed to honor that commitment, no different than any other agreement that's been made between the city and the county. Even though none of us were personally part of that agreement. So, it's also, I think, very important that we give every ample opportunity for both the city and the county to sit down at the table and feel that they've been heard, that they've been treated fairly, and that the constituents have been treated fairly. And through negotiations, there is give and take. And I applaud the county for getting splossed on the ballot for November. That was a huge step that they, for whatever reasons, were wanting to postpone that until May. They chose to go ahead and put that on the ballot, and we'll be the beneficiaries as a result of that. It's good for all of us. I think taking this discussion, let's see, you said it was 2005, what it was, 2005 agreement, taking a 12-year-old agreement off the table by taking care of and honoring the commitment, I think is really important that we do that. I think it's important that we recognize that, we honor that, which will, I think, in my humble opinion, open the door for further negotiation and fair discussion about tax inequities and other issues that we're gonna have to deal with service delivery strategy, some of which are going to be very difficult conversations. water rates. I think Rob's provided us, we talked about the law on one hand. Rob's provided us with some case law. There could be, not saying there is, I don't wanna create, havoc or fear. There could be some concern that the rates were not done appropriately. So,
But let's be clear, that's different from this discussion we just had. The law is not clear that says you must equalize rates.
no, but the,
Cities have different rates. So
They
let's
cannot-
not confuse an issue with, now we're going, if you don't vote for this, you're going.
no,
you're
I'm,
going against the law.
you've misunderstood me. I did not say that. What I'm saying is, there has been, and Rob, I'll let you chime in, there has been that.
Basically,
Go ahead.
what the statute says is that the differences between the rates between the city and the county cannot be arbitrary.
Right, and that's what I'm talking, are they arbitrary? I don't know, that would be up for a judge to decide, but personally, I think it would be a disservice to the citizens of Tifton for the legal fees we'd have to pay to get in court and let the judge decide if it's arbitrary. When we agree, we have agreed, we have sat at this table and said we need to honor that commitment.
Well, and no
So-
question, we've talked about, yes, we will move to that, but there's something we want on the other side, because we weren't here in '05.
No, we
But in
weren't.
discussions with those that were there in '05, and what was agreed to, now is there a document? No. But what was underlying agreement? That there were tax inequities then that the county were going to address. Have they been addressed? No. So now all of a sudden, we're gonna address this, which things were different 12 years ago, and they couldn't bind us to something 12 years ago to do today. So, not saying I am opposed to that. Number one, don't wanna have a serious, because Frank, there's 5 of us. He's not here, he couldn't help it. His mother passed away, he's at a memorial for her, so it's not like he's just out on
I know.
vacation.
I know that.
So, but we want something from the county, and I appreciate the county putting SPLOST on the ballot, for which the county's gonna get 67% of the money, which will be spent outside the city limits of Tifton. But, so, it was certainly to the county's benefit to do that, and it wasn't in case of you put it on there, we'll equalize rates. I never said that we would, that I'd say that in order to put SPLOST on the ballot. There were 2 totally different issues is what my position
Well,
is.
I want you to think about this in an open mind here, that we're not simply gonna create an interlocal agreement to discuss this issue only. The interlocal agreement will address the other tax equities. I would recommend other tax equities that we have, hence why I said that would be something that I'd like to get your input on,
right, and we'll
Johnny's
do that.
input and Frank's
But,
input on.
and if we approve the equalization of rates, it would be provided
That would
the
be a
county
part-
accepts the interlocal agreement. If the county says, no, we're not accepting this interlocal agreement, then there's no equalization of rates, and then we will probably end up in court.
And when we get all that together, I think then we go forward. But I don't wanna agree to do part of it, if we hadn't come up with agreement, we're gonna do the other part. That's my only point. I'm not opposed to that. Say, if we do this, we'll equalize rates. I wanna know what this, and this is before I vote to equalize rates.
Council, I wish I wish we could do it that easy. I met with Jim Carter today to talk about service delivery. We talked about the airport, we talked about Park and Rec, we talked about the jail, and we talked about, 911. And we talked about the contract. So what was in the contract, what the county was thinking about the contract. At the jail, for instance, one of the recommendations I made to him is that Chief Dowdy and the sheriff get together and talk about some of the things that are outdated. And we bring that information forward. So there's gonna be bits and pieces that you're going to get along the way until all this organization is done with the topics. And that some of you or all of us come to the table and say, all right, let's start going through this. The water's a little different, and there's a lot of history behind this, and the logic is if this could be out of the way, doesn't bind you anything, but you're realistically taking 10, 12 years of data and decisions, and at least suggesting what could be done. And you make the final decisions. It's just an opportunity to go forward and to say, this is what we offer now, tell us what you think. So we're gonna be doing this fast fast and furious here because we do not have a lot of time.
No, we don't,
for
and that's
service
one of the
delivery. They're not all
reasons.
gonna come at once and you're gonna look at it and say, well, I like that one, I like this one, and what
Well,
about this one?
that's why I don't want us to delay.
We'll get beat down for time on that. So I wish there was an easy way, but again, the water is just very unique and this is something that's sticking out and.
So let me
I think
ask you
all
this,
understand.
at the pleasure of the council, would it be something that you guys would like to workshop next month?
Well, we workshopped it
Well,
last month.
I don't think we got into any great
So-
detail. Yeah, we talked and we gave our opinions on it, but there was nothing, nothing, Jim and Pete hadn't yet met on a couple of key things. They've met since then. Maybe some updated information could be brought to us, what they're thinking, what we're thinking, and then let's just bring that back to the table for discussion.
If not a workshop, let's do a special call meeting.
Or a special call meeting, we can do
Yeah,
that.
let's do a special call meeting. But,
Or workshop and then have a meeting after, or a special call meeting after.
no, let's have a special call meeting. You talked, when you and Jim had talked since we had the workshop, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They met today.
So let's bring that. Let's have a special call meeting.
Now, I'll say this much, I mean, Pete did provide us with, some information on, today, with, I guess, staff recommendations of somewhat that we can take and then we can mold maybe something out of that,
Yeah.
deal.
Let's special call meeting. Let's do a special call meeting. We did one, it won't take us 30, 40 minutes. We could do a lunchtime, where you can take a
Oh,
lunch.
I'll be available anytime. Don't worry about working around my schedule. My
But
folks-
we're out here, cause,
Okay,
I have my lunch, but let's do a special call meeting. Let's special call meet this. Okay, let's get what you talked to Jim about, all of the service delivery things, and bring them to the table, and let's get them all bunched together here. And then, like kind of put them apart, but like you said, this water thing, been knocking us around in our head for some time, and the county been 20 years ago they start nitpicking at this water thing.
But do you think that were our rates set with any kind of, planning in mind, or were they arbitrarily set?
Well, I mean, I don't
think
know
they're
that.
arbitrary.
Why,
I wouldn't wanna get
why?
in-
Why do you not think they were
I don't think we need to
arbitrary?
get into that type
I
of
don't know,
discussion.
and that's
I don't
my
think we need to
concern,
go that
and
route.
that's-
That was 05.
Well, no, I'm not talking about whether we think that it's arbitrary or not. I don't
Okay.
think we need to have that discussion right
Okay,
now.
but let me just say this. Time is of the essence.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I
When-
don't-
Do something in December.
Was July?
Well,
July?
the effective, it would go into effect July the 1st if that's what
You've
happens,
gotta be
but we're
done
in
by
service
April.
delivery now.
Yeah, sure,
April,
yeah.
April,
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
And we've got to back into the dates it's gotta be submitted and reviewed and,
Okay.
so
So
time is
I
of the
don't, I
essence.
won't have any information on the 4 items that we talked about today. We're just organizing them in a
Right.
fashion. So I think that really you just need to decide if you wanna take on water independently or you want to, push it off into another.
Since it tends to be financial related,
Mhm.
can the finance committee get together and work up some type of proposal that we can then do something in December?
I agree where you're going with that, but I think this is such a massive issue that I think that it needs
It
all of
needs
our
to be-
inputs.
Yeah.
If we're- Because there's also the water committee, that's me and Wes, and then there's, so
I would
it
like,
breaks up into-
I'm up
I'd
for
rather
Johnny's
not
idea
get
on a
into-
special call meeting where,
Yeah.
everybody can put their 2 cents into what.
My point, if you're gonna have this agreement you're talking about, you gotta have, out of that meeting is gonna come this agreement.
No. I'm just saying, it could come ideas where the agreement could be put together.
This was the recommendation that is equalized rates, provided the county agrees to the agreement. We don't have the agreement yet. We'll have to work on the agreement.
Okay.
So if the county goes to.
Let's work on the
if
county
if-
agreement.
I guess I'm not clear on why we wouldn't go ahead and say we will equalize rates, provided they agree to the agreement. We haven't committed anything in the agreement yet. That's gotta be created.
You have to have a starting point.
Yeah,
You have to
that's-
have
I
a
mean,
that's-
that's basically what my motion, or
A starting
that's what I would've, that's how I would approach this.
Okay.
You're gonna hear this time and time
Time-
again. Just
we
in
talked
your
about
local
it.
agreement, that's what we happened in 2005, that's what got into this mess. What you have the time now to develop the guts of the interlocal agreement. The only thing that we want to put forward is that, look, if you agree to what we put together, then we'll move forward with it. That's the
Okay.
only thing that you would do tonight.
Okay.
So it says nothing about
Okay.
your
It's
commitment.
not into the, it doesn't get into the details of the interlocal agreement, because we don't know that yet.
Right.
But without that, then the others doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Do I need to make a motion for a special
You can't.
call meeting?
Special, well, we gotta look at schedules and everything like that
Yeah,
first,
it's
right?
not-
Yeah, can we, do
We
we
all
have to
agree
do that in a
we-
public
we all
meeting?
agree we need
I mean, can
one.
we look
It's
at
just a
everybody's
matter of
schedule,
when
see
to
what
call.
couple
Yeah,
days
we
are
all agree
available?
we need
I
one.
don't agree that we need one, so I think we've got everything we need to move this forward, but it's at the council's pleasure, and,
Well,
I don't know what's gonna, anyway, we
We had
can have a
we
special.
had a
call.
hiccup when it come to approving this agenda, and I think it was made that we would not be voting on anything on this
Okay,
particular issue tonight. That was how we got it approved to discussion only.
okay,
I'm not gonna go back on my word, so.
okay.
Okay.
But now, a special call meeting, I would be for.
All right, well, go ahead.
I make a motion that we have a special call meeting. Ms. Jones, could you set us a date?
Well, I'm just saying, do we have to do a?
I don't
do
think
we
we have to have a motion, you just want me to try to get with y'all and work it
Uh,
in your
oh.
schedule
We can do
within the
that.
next
Okay.
month? Are we talking,
I would
Okay.
say within the next, about,
The 15th of December?
yeah, because you're gonna come into Christmas and we need to get this.
prior
Yeah.
to, okay. I'll just
Okay.
send an
Next week
email
till
to y'all.
mid-December.
Okay, so what,
Well, let me
That's
ask
off the
this,
tape.
our workshop is December the 4th, I believe. Is there time to have a meeting following the workshop, or not? Hmm?
Before that, we have we're gonna have a alcohol, hearing at 5. So I mean, it would have to be, if you wanted to do it that day, way before that. I don't know what that agenda will look like, if it'll be another long meeting, but.
I mean, we've done long meetings before.
What'd you say?
You can have it after.
That's what I'm saying, after the workshop.
we could have it after the workshop? All right,
Isn't December the 4th the date of our next workshop?
okay.
Okay.
Does that give you time to do what you need to do to answer the questions that they want
Jack, just
answered,
start
that
getting
Jack
email,
wants?
yeah, start getting questions up.
Okay. Would
So
that,
it
would
gives
that be
us 1
sufficient
week.
for
Yeah,
you?
let me just make sure I understand what I'm going to be putting together, so.
I guess what, he's gonna be giving you his issues, that he wants to be addressed. Maybe we can work that into that agreement, is basically it.
Okay, so you want to draft up the actual agreement itself?
And then maybe review it, and is there something that we don't add, or is there something that we add, is there, and then that's what we workshop, is that what we're saying?
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
okay, right?
That's, I mean,
Yeah, right?
if we're gonna present that we're gonna equalize rates if X, Y, and Z happen.
Okay.
X, Y, and Z is the question.
Well, I mean, provided that they agree to the, interlocal agreement that we provide, we can put in the information that we wanted to the agreement. So I mean, but yes, basically what I said, yeah.
They're not gonna read anything till they see what X, Y, and Z is.
Well-
Well, they're gonna see it, that's what we're gonna have to
That's what I'm saying.
discuss.
Then the rates won't be equalized. I mean, that's,
I mean,
If
there's
they don't
gotta be
take our
some-
H, Y,
This
X,
is
Y,
a
Z,
perfect-
then,
And then we'll
Then-
agree.
This
then we
is
won't.
this is the perfect opportunity for both the county and the city to come to the table in good faith and work these issues out. This is something that's been
Okay.
on the,
I agree.
been an issue for years. I mean, and so, here's an opportunity for us to be able to address the issues from the city side, and then here's an opportunity for the county
To address
to
issues
address issues on their
That
side.
have been happening for years, that have been, people
Exactly.
complained to them for years.
So,
Well-
here's equal, hopefully this agreement will be able to
this will those, get it
be
cleared
able to
out.
settle those
Yeah.
issues.
Get it settled.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do.
All right.
Okay, we straight on that?
it's clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
Oh, yeah.
Board report, Jessica? Have anything on to the board
Now, y'all
report?
planning to vote that night?
Hmm?
Are y'all planning to vote that night? Is that
You
why
d-
we're?
I don't know.
Oh.
But
I was hoping we could vote tonight, but.
my thought would be is, if something can be developed as far as a proposed resolution, a proposed agreement, and then maybe workshop that issue on the 4th, and then subsequently then have a special call meeting, you know, once you all have a chance to talk through it at the workshop, and then go into special call meeting, and then see whether or not you can reach an agreement and make a motion and adopt whatever resolution may be discussed at the workshop. Everything give you a chance to discuss it, kind of hammer some things out, then move into the special call meeting after the end of the workshop, and then perhaps you'll be able to make a motion and vote on something at that point. That would be my suggestion.
Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. Yeah.
So we never did answer Jessica's question. We would be voting
No, I
that in
don't,
essence.
would it be just, would we be
My-
voting on that? What if,
As I understand, if you want to
I wouldn't
move
vote on
towards
it.
the potential of voting on the motion, on
we can't vote
that
on
type of
it at the
resolution.
December meeting, which is a week away, 2 weeks away.
My thought is, what I was saying
I
is
thought
that,
we were having a special call meeting, I don't know.
right, but I thought what might be a good idea is to have a workshop anyway. You can go ahead and have whatever the staff recommendation is, a draft resolution to talk about and discuss in workshop, and then maybe in the workshop, you can discuss it, maybe express your ideas there, and then after the workshop, it might be to the point where you've talked it through and you're ready to make a motion on a resolution once you've had a chance to discuss it at workshop.
I guess my question is, we've got in our packet a memo to us from Pete, service delivery strategy. And this memo is probably what the interlocal agreement is gonna consist of,
Well,
relating to water.
There's some things that I'd like to add in there as far as their contribution to water lines, the $3 million that they have for public, if they're not gonna get into the water business.
Right.
I'd like for them to be able to help us with, and we can use that money in outskirts of the city limits. We can say, hey, we're gonna put that $3 million towards, the Pebble Hill Brook, I always mess that up, Pebble Brook subdivision. Or we can look over at Northgate Lakes or wherever the other systems are that need a little bit of repair. But that's what they would bring to the table as well. That would be something that I would like to add into that. And I think that that's reasonable to offer, you know, on behalf of the counties to say, hey, listen, our dollars are going to help, not only the city system, but to the county customers. So there's a win-win there. They're not gonna get muddy water anymore. Like that lady brought a couple of bags full of dirty water. I mean, now their money is gonna be used to improve that line to allow for that community that's outside the city limits to get the much needed clean water that they pay for. So period, you know. I mean, that's one of the things that I'd like to see added to it, but that's just one of many that there's out there. So, I mean,
But now, Wes, I agree with you. If that $3 million, let them bring that $3 million to the table with us. And we can clean up Pebble Brook, that's it?
Yeah, Pebble Brook.
We can clean up Pebble Brook and some more infrastructure things that need to be done over
That's right.
over
That's
there.
exactly right.
Then let them, cause some stuff that need to be done south of 17th Street.
allow them to have some input on this.
Right.
Hey, you know what, we got some structure, you know, and that's what they really want. They want a little bit of input on where their money goes. Hey, your money's
Okay.
gonna be spent in the county.
There-
Here's some
there you go.
issues. I don't
There you
know.
go.
There's a lot of things that we can look at doing.
That we can bring, yeah.
So, I mean, we'll discuss that at the workshop. How about that?
Okay.
All right?
And then have a special call meeting after in case y'all wanna officially vote on anything and make it, okay.
And let's just
So
make sure that we get our
basically, what I
thoughts.
understand,
during
just
the
so
time
staff will know, I know we're talking about developing a agreement, and that's kind of sudden, I think. Is this kind of like a proposal or a guide for Pete to use for his discussions with the county? Are we trying to develop our guide of saying, okay, we wanna do this, this, and this, if you'll agree to this side of it?
I mean,
Is that what we're trying to do, develop?
I don't look at me, I'm not.
Well, that's it.
I feel like I'm the king, everybody's looking at me for the
I think
answer.
that's a question Jack
You're
needs
wanting to
answer.
add, you know, different things
I
to
mean,
it. I mean, is that what?
I think there are issues that each one of us have that we would like to see corrected, and then we also know that there's some things that we know from what they have told us in the past is issues that they have with the city. And we just need to address all of those at the same time, and I think
Yes.
this might be an opportunity for us to do that. Now, is it a tall task? Absolutely. That's why Pete gets paid the big bucks.
I'm just
You know.
making sure we.
I mean, that's
prepare
all I
what
can
you
say. I
want.
don't know what else to say.
Okay.
Just so, so for my sake, you know, developing an interlocal agreement is, you know, it's similar like to 2005. I mean, all those type of things are gonna have to be addressed. I'm not saying it's gonna be anything like 2005, but, you know, ownership of the equipment, you know, things of that nature, funding, you know, those things are what would normally be in your interlocal agreement. So my thought is that if you want to take water and deal with water, then it could be dealt with, with a interlocal agreement and, and a commitment during the term of the interlocal agreement that the water rates would be equal between city and the county. So you've got the agreement whereby you're going to equalize the rates. The county agrees to for the city to be the exclusive provider in Tift County for water services, and then you kind of figure out where you're going to go with the infrastructure, the extensions of the lines, who's going to pay for those, who's going to own those. So all those things need to be considered, when we get down to actually developing the interlocal agreement. Not to say we can't put something together that we can look at and then determine, okay, this is, this will work. So that was kind of my thought, is that we put together such an agreement with
Which to me seems like putting the cart before the horse. And that's my whole point, is we can't get to that point. We can't tie up every single frustration we have with the county with water rates. That's putting the cart before the horse. We can deal with the water rates and say we will equalize those water rates, which is what they've asked us to do many times, and we have said we would in the past. We have said we would, but we need to honor that commitment, provided that you do acknowledge what's in the agreement. And we don't have time, in my opinion, is to create that agreement with the time pressure that's on us to complete service delivery. However, if we will agree to equalize the rates, and we've all been contacted by the county commission individually, however, to say we need you to do this so that we can have further discussions on not just tax and equity, but lots of different issues. So, in my opinion, if we back up now and say, well, I know that's what we ought to do, and through this negotiation process, yeah, that sounds good, but no, we're not gonna do that now.
We didn't say we weren't gonna do that now.
But now you're saying you want the agreement put forth first, and you can't get to the agreement until there's an agreement to equalize the rates. We get to the equalization of rates, and then the rest of it, so it feels like the cart's before the horse. It feels like we're trying to have all the answers before we agree to equalize rates. We don't have all those answers yet. They're still in negotiations.
Originally, first discussion I remember having, we agreed to equalize the base rate. That was gonna solve everything. Equalize the base rate, everything's fine, even though the agreement said that. Well, that went about as far as,
We didn't know the formula.
very
We didn't,
far.
yeah, we didn't have.
There's a formula to how water rates
Yeah.
are
We
calculated.
didn't know it, but there's base rate and there's consumption rate, and we agreed at that point the base rate, that was gonna solve the whole water rate issue, but that didn't.
Well, I think what happened there was a confusion about, we all thought rates were rates. We didn't realize that there was a formula used to calculate. We just thought rates were rates. You turn on the tap, a gallon of water comes out, you pay X amount of dollars. We didn't realize that there was a way to calculate that. So there was more, it wasn't that there was, I think there was just, we didn't understand how rates were calculated. We were making some assumptions based on what we thought was a rate, but that was not the rate.
Because
So
I thought we all get to discharge everybody the same thing.
that's what we're talking about doing. That's what we're talking about.
Charge everybody the same
We
thing.
didn't know how consumption rates were calculated, but we knew
Right.
it was a base rate.
Yeah. Just everybody pay the same thing.
I think we're making a mistake, but like I
Flat
said,
rate.
it's a democracy, it's a vote, and, I
Well, we
do
can
wanna
do
go
it now.
on record that I don't feel like we're doing the right thing, but that's,
Or do it in December. I
okay,
mean,
okay. All right, any further discussion about water?
Please, let's drink some
I got that.
water.
All right, board report, Jessica?
I'm ready for LMIG.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay,
Yep.
let's go back to
All
LMIG.
right, so,
All right, that is item number 8 under consent agenda.
yeah, excuse me, I must hit print twice on 16th Street, so one of those is just an extra copy. So let me just dial back from our work session, all these streets that were graded, it was about $1.2 million for everything. Obviously, we don't have enough money. So we looked at all the 10s, the 9s, and some of the really key 8s that needed to be repaired. The guys went back, retooled numbers for me, and provided a sheet of those. And what I did is I started calculating and came up, and I stopped at Pine View. So there's still Fullwood, Park, and Central to be done. If we did everything, that's $760,000. So we obviously we don't have the money to make it there. So if you want to take these and remove, there's one option, you could take 11th off, that's $86,000, and put Fullwood back in, because it's about the same amount of money. That is an option, and I put 3rd Street on there because it's really insignificant amount, $17,000 just as a filler, to get that little short piece paid. So, however you'd like to do it, we can do it. I'm just trying to make sure all the districts get paved, that we do have, the high visibility ones and the 10s and the 9s that we could start taking out, as far as resurfacing. So, if you'd
Pete,
like
let
to.
me ask you a question. I'm no road engineer by any means, but we do have a powerful tool called Google. And I just Googled chip seal. And some of its discussion, it says that although chip seal is an effective low-cost way to repair roads, it provides no structural strength, and it does have drawbacks. Loose crushed stone is often left on the surface, and owing to an under application of bitumen. I guess he's here to talk about that, if that be the case. What I don't want to do is just put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole,
Yeah, you're
bullet wound,
exactly
whatever you can call it. Knife,
Chip seal is gonna be underneath. And
Yeah.
Scotty, you want to?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Basically, what will happen is the street will be resurfaced with 1.5 inches of asphalt. But if you resurface over those cracks will come through your resurface. So the chip and seal, where some people use it, which probably you're researching, is where they simply put that and go off and leave it. And that's a process that's done. That's not the recommendation here. The
Okay.
chip seal
That's
is sand
that's right.
and small gravel that is spread on the road. And in time, you give it a week or so, it works into the crevices and cracks and prevents them then from coming through your resurface of asphalt.
So basically what I'm thinking, when I say resurfacing, I'm thinking smooth like 20th Street.
Absolutely.
what it's gonna look like?
A new layer of asphalt would be put on there,
All right.
correct.
That was my only question. Like I say, I'm no road engineer, but, Google is my friend.
We have
correct.
to make, because of the amount of roads and because of how many we need to have attention to, we need to make smart decisions most efficiently possible. So again, the roads that, if they were on trucks and, we get some heavy,
Right.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Gotcha.
So that's why I've chosen, we need to take Central off, and that needs to be done correctly because of the high volumes and weights
Yeah.
on the traffic. We just have to be smart, and I think that's one alternative that could get us there.
Okay.
Take Central off.
You took Fullwood off, which is in my district. You took Park off, which is in my district. That leaves me with nothing in my district. You got Emmett, which was an 8, which isn't on the list, and you talk about traffic. If you hadn't gone by there and looked at the new Affinity building, that's where the traffic is.
All right.
And you got Emmett and you got Fullwood, both of them, heavy traffic, neither one of them on the list.
What would it cost to add those two?
Well, Fullwood, Fullwood's at 88,000, 910.
Okay, on Ridge.
So that'd be 600.
Fullwood's 50, What was it, 52,000, is that right?
That's, yeah, we
Is
did.
that a
we-
change number?
Yeah, this is the updated numbers.
Third Street, take Third Street off.
What'd
Are you
say?
saying that this treatment though is not appropriate for the heavier traffic?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so that's why those were pulled off. It's not because they're not gonna be done, it's just with this chip seal type of treatment. Is that what you're saying? Did I
it's-
understand that correctly?
Chip seal does not replace the base layer. If you
Right.
were gonna replace the base layer, it'd be a full road, reclamation. Chip seal's just to allow you to resurface it.
Right. And what you're saying, I want to make sure I'm clear on this too, is that, Pete, what you're saying is that Fullwood Park and Central need more than just resurfacing.
Fullwood's in bad shape.
Yeah, I know.
And it is in bad, and we could rearrange this, it's really fine, I'm really trying to do our best with what we have to work
Well,
on.
I appreciate that, but if it's a 10, it's a 10. If it's not a 10, then it shouldn't be a 10. But while we're skipping down and doing things that aren't 10s,
Well,
and I understand Central is $100,000.
right,
Central.
and, 11th, and we could take out Third Street. We could
Take
add
out
that
what?
back in.
11th and 3rd?
Take out Third, 11th. You can take out 11th. If 11th is bad shape, but if you went from Ridge over to Timmons, if you were talking about if they're doing 11 from Central over to Timmons, but if you took 11 from Ridge, west of Ridge over to Timmons, that's the really bad part of 11th Street. And 9th Street, if you took 11th Street, half of 11th Street off, and gave that back to 9th Street, and like you said, Jack, they were in my 11th and 13th. I mean 11th and 9th was in my district. I could get by, but you know if I have to give up something, but I do need 11. I do need 11 from Ridge over to Timmons. That would be up my 10. And I could and 9th from Central to Park was my 9.
So you want 9 and 11, right?
Yeah, I would, and anything, if you did 9 and 11,
Why is 11th only evaluated a 5? What's the?
It didn't score as far as the.
yeah, and 11 is not heavily traveled after Park. I mean, 11 from Park down to Central is not, the heavy traffic on 11 is from
What's the pages?
Park.
Okay. Look up.
Pete, let me ask you a
No, from
question.
Ridge over to Timmons.
To add those two roads, I'm gonna use an ugly word for a second. Could you possibly pull those two projects out of contingency? And make that happen? Keep the same list and just add,
I mean, I agree, we could do, yeah, we could do it, I mean, Fullwood and Emmett, I mean, it's, you know, with the new clinic coming in, I think we need to do it.
yeah. And so you're saying add those two,
I
period?
need some approval for some more money.
I think that's what we have a contingency. I mean, we do have, what, $5.5 million in contingency? Is that right? That's the last number I remember.
Well, it's.
What you said, Wayne? Said 3?
We got
About
3 million. 3 million? It's not
But
good.
we have SPLOS is going good, we have the new SPLOS coming on board, I mean, all those are in line. The paving's not gonna stop, that's for sure.
Okay.
And it's just how fast we can get them. And we could rearrange this, but, again, the race is on because, we have so many needs.
I mean, we're looking at $150 extra thousand bucks. Is that what we need?
If you wanna keep like Third on here, if you wanna, rearrange some of these, we could do it. You wanna authorize me to go up to, $700,000 and I'll make it happen.
What would it take to do everything? 700?
All these streets,
What's
No, no,
how much is
just
Fullwood?
Forward's gonna be about 90
90.
90,000.
And Emmett.
Emmett, I'll probably say 70, probably.
So 160,000. So you're looking at what,
680.
Just shy of 700.
But you
Yeah.
call it 700 exactly.
Yeah. So.
So you
I
can
mean-
do it all with 700?
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
But
do we have?
where's the additional coming from?
All right, let's get our finance guy here.
It-
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, SPOS, if we have some more time, SPOS collections are gonna come in, and we're gonna have some more paving money. It's just, if we spend it a little in this lump, then we'll have to, carry it. We won't be able to spend anymore, and that's what we'll get into a
So-
little danger zone.
Yeah.
So
Especially
we take a little bit now, a little bit later?
E.B. Hamilton,
Yeah,
it's a timing thing with collections, so.
yeah.
What's the new number for 11th? It's 60 on there.
He says he needs,
86,433.
How much?
86.
86,433. And we may be able to.
We delay 11th and
Yes,
that's about the same money as what Fullwood was. I mean,
that's
it was
one
a
of the
10.
recommendations.
All right, so 11th will be a 5. It's graded a 5.
And of course, keep in mind, that's based on travel. That's one of the
Sure.
factors that go in there, not just
Well, that's what
condition,
almost- and
but
it got-
travel, which justifies why Central is a 10, because it's so heavily used.
I just don't see you complain about Fullwood, you go to school.
We could delay 11 to the next round, bring forward, and then authorize another $100,000 to take out.
All right, 16th.
My problem, my concern with Emmett, if we don't do something with Emmett, these cars are gonna come on these side streets, they're not gonna go down Emmett. They'll go down Emory and turn on 22nd or 24th to avoid Emmett. What's gonna happen.
I don't dispute any of it.
Do you want to kind of look back over and kind of let us know? I mean, do we have to,
On Emmett,
do we have to act tonight? Do you want to go back and kind of
We
calculate?
want to get the bid out, there's no,
Did they do
we
a
don't have to
cutout
do
there?
anything tonight, we certainly don't.
Yeah, I mean, I just want you to get an maybe go back and look at it and see what you can do to make it work.
So,
and
yeah,
and
is there anything else that
Is there
you
a
foresee,
cutout on
Emmett
there for the
and
new
Fullwood,
Infinity
bringing
Pool?
those forward, anything
I
else
just
that?
think so. And then it's.
It's out, Frank had one, and we covered that one on Ridge.
See how it's gonna affect us right there.
But I
I'm
gotta go
good
backwards on
with-
this.
Well, if we're having if we're moving the other stuff, the workshop on December 4th, could we readdress this on December 4th? Would that give
If
you
it's
time?
contemplated, you have a special called meeting as well after that, then you could perhaps vote on it.
Add it to the
as
agenda.
well.
Let's do that. Y'all
Well, I
okay with that?
think-
I'm sorry.
What's on the agenda tonight is just, applying for those funds.
Right.
And just, so we don't have to,
We don't have to
we
be
do have to
specific
know.
with how they're gonna be used, is that what you're saying?
We do, but only to a certain amount.
Right.
Are we to that amount, the 215 plus the 30%?
Okay.
So we should be there with majority
Well,
of
we're
these.
there.
We'll
Okay.
we'll submit for
Go
LMIG
ahead,
purposes.
right, and then we can decide exactly how it's used on the 4th.
Yes,
Exactly.
so this would just be,
Using LMIG funds for 2017.
yeah.
Right.
So it's approval for amending the FY17 LMIG project for street resurfacing and FY18 LMIG for E.B. Hamilton Road. So tonight, that would be more of the bid phase, finalizing those
Okay.
documents.
But we
I mean,
still
we
need.
can discuss it, but I mean, if you wanna, from
Well-
what's on the agenda, go ahead and,
So basically, we'd be approving the, what's on, literally what the wording on the agenda without getting into the details of which
that's
particular
correct,
streets are
cause
going
it's
to be.
amending and, you know,
And then you can provide a project update at the December 4th meeting,
Yes.
so where we can divvy out that money.
Can I ask a silly question? and I think somebody asked us earlier, Third Street, you said that was just a filler? For 18,000, would it be, if we're gonna take off one of Johnny's, add maybe Maple Street, that was about 18,000, and trade that one for Third Street? I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing deals out there, so everybody gets, you know.
Maple Street.
Maple Street's on
There is a
the,
7
and it's graded as
It's on-
7.
It's a
from
seven.
Bellevue to
Woodlawn.
Let me think. Maple Street. There's a Quiet Street. In my district, what I'm trying to do is get heavily traveled streets.
Yeah, that's your 10, 9s, 8s.
Yeah. See, I need, got a central, we tell central to pump when need could be a bind.
Well, are we all in agreement that we
Yeah,
need to
let's do that.
spend X amount of dollars for LMIG? That you need to vote on
Yeah.
tonight, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
yes, okay.
And to delay the 2018, the E.B. Hamilton project to 2018 because of the delays in that bidding process and right-of-way acquisitions and stuff like that. That's what we need to vote on tonight, correct? Okay. Without getting into the specific details, we all agree that we'll do that. And then on the December 4th meeting, you'll provide us with the details on how that money's gonna be. And then that week, we can come to an agreement on that.
All right.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay,
Everybody good on that?
okay.
All right, that being said, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
So let me ask one more, so is this, were you gonna go ahead and put the bids out, Pete? Is that what you're?
I'll hold.
You were going to though, if we
Well,
approve it,
I was gonna launch it.
which, nothing happens Thanksgiving week anyway. so-
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to bid in the winter anyway, so it's gonna be a slow go, but I wanted to get it in the pipe because of the delays the contractor we're hearing.
right.
You're gonna be asking me, where we're paving, and we're gonna be next July. So I wanna get it out there as soon as we can.
Okay. All right, do we need to do anything on the board report? We decided at the, last meeting not to make any appointments or anything. And I think the board report is in our packet on page 148. Just any comment or
No,
is,
it's the
would
same.
y'all, it's the same, okay.
If y'all wanna make any appointments or reappointments?
I think we were wondering if Greg Anderson, there was someone we were curious, was it Greg Anderson to be reappointed?
Yeah, I'm just assuming I
Yeah.
have not been, I don't know how to the numbers that I have, and
Okay.
I'm not getting a response.
Okay.
So,
We don't have to do anything until the December meeting, if y'all wanna hold off on that, or if you want to go ahead and,
we got a HPC vacancy?
Yes.
yes.
Well, that's
And then
Frank's
we
deal.
have,
Yeah, I'm gonna let Frank do that.
Yeah, and then we have 3 terms on Downtown Development Authority that are expiring, but they're all interested in being reappointed.
Yeah.
And I would say that Greg Anderson would want to be reappointed to the Airport Authority. If you wanted to deal with any of those, we can, it's just whatever y'all wanna do, but we don't have to do anything until the December meeting because terms don't expire until that.
That's fine, we can do that, so Frank can be involved.
Okay, all right. Everybody good with that? Okay, financial update, Wayne?
Thank you, sir.
Wow, these are hot off the press.
Before you is, in the packet is the monthly budget report for the major funds. First page is the general fund, and this is going through October 31st, 2017. Revenue for October was $444,000 compared to total expenditures that month of $993,000, which was a deficit of $549. But overall, year to date, revenues were at $4.689 million compared to expenditures of $3,771,000, which right now there's revenues over expenditures of $917,000. The target number on percentage of expenditures for the thing is 33%. There's only, in the general fund, there were three departments that were a little bit over. Those related to public works areas, the cemetery, the shop, and also the public works department itself. Those are just normal operating things, just a little bit higher than normal. Most all of the departments are significantly under the 33% for the year so far. On the second page is the hotel motel tax fund. Month revenues were $176,000 and expenditures were only $51,645. Revenues were over expenditures of $124,768. Year to date, $276,000 in revenue compared to $180,000 in expenditures. Page 3 is our water fund. Revenue for the month of October, $305,000. Expenditures at a total of $149,000, which nets out to a revenue over expenditures of $156,000, some change. The one area in this one I looked at was actually ESG's water under that department. Two line items in there in that budget is the fuel allocation and the repairs were significantly above the 33%. One was at 52%, the other was at 60% for the year so far. On those items, I will dig a little deeper and let y'all know exactly what's in there, but those were what's causing that to be at 40% for the month. But overall for the year, revenues are 1.2 million, expenditures at $686,000. So there's revenues over expenditures at $551,000.
What about water operations?
That's running under budget for the year.
We got 6% versus expected 33.
A lot of what's in there, some of those things in there is mostly things that are no longer, it's smaller items. Most of what was in there in the past is now under ESG, but some of that stuff may be one-time things, so it'll hit later on in the year.
Those are the kind of things I'd like to see. I mean,
Okay.
What typically we see something that's 40, so it's over, so we can look at it.
Yeah.
But if something's good, only 6%, well, that's good. And then it bites you.
But,
where
and I'll take a look at that and let you know,
So, okay.
Mr. Falk. Next page is our sewer fund. Revenue for the month was just under $302,000. Expenditures, $264,000. So we had revenues over expenditures of $37,000 for the year. You're looking at $1.288 million. Expenditures of $979,000, with showing a net revenue over expenditures year to date of $309,000. The departments there were under budget for the year. In the gas fund, which is on the next page, revenues were at $377,000, expenditures of $224,000, revenues over expenditures $153,000. Year to date, $1,256,000, expenditures of $773,000. We're showing a revenue over expenditures of $483,000. The last page is our solid waste fund. I want to take a second to talk about this one. You'll notice revenues only total $104,000. Year to date, $398,000, which is significantly under. I think some of that's probably geared towards the stuff that happened with hurricanes that came through. We had several weeks in there where we did not charge for bringing stuff into the landfill, heavy stuff and all that, the yard debris going in there. So I think that has affected that number some. Also, in some of the expenditures, right now you're showing a deficit of revenues go really under expenditures. Two of the line items on the landfill itself. One is repair and maintenance for machinery equipment and also the vehicles. They have spent over 50% of those line items for the year. So that has really pushed why the expenditures are over budget. Because when you have over 60,000, if I remember right, there's over 60,000 in repairs have happened so far this year on this heavy equipment alone. That's going, basically, that one line item is almost at 100% for the year.
Which line item is that?
It's under heavy equipment repairs and maintenance. it's part of the landfill part in there, but I mean, it's one of the reasons why right now it's running at a deficit. Is the fact that we've had all these extra expended, repair and maintenances, things that if you, are above 33%. They're ones at 52, those at 60%. So they're one of the things is the repairs is wiped out for the year. The other one's already over 50%. So it's causing us to be over between that and the fact that our revenues are below target.
Well, I'm trying to figure out which page.
Oh, we're on the last page.
Huh?
We're on the last
I
page.
don't see any.
Solid waste
It
fund.
doesn't break out.
This is by department. I'm just going in and explaining to why there's a deficit sitting in the solid waste fund right now. And the two big areas, line items I've been able to find when I dug down into the department in the landfill was repair and maintenance items that are way over budget for the year. It's causing.
But if I look at total expenditures.
Total expenditures are in line, but when you compare it to the revenues, the reason why we're under budget, there's two reasons: revenue down and extra expense.
Let's just look at expenditures, and 33% is the target, and we're at 17%.
Yeah, but there's two line items in there that's driving a lot of this. So there's a combination of those two things are causing us to have a shortfall right now. Revenue down, and I look at the expenditure line items in there. When I dig down farther, that's the areas that's causing the trouble.
It's not broken down that detail.
Yeah, and I'm giving y'all a high level thing here, and I was just trying to give you an explanation why something was without having to bring out every line item in the book in here and spend 20 minutes telling you about one thing.
But what he's saying is, it shows that it's under budget, right?
Well, that's what, revenue is the issue.
Yeah, and part of the revenue is part of the issue.
Instead of 33, I'd be pleased with 17% when I'm looking for a 33. I don't care what the inside numbers are showing. I mean, 17 is good.
But that will catch up
We
with
had
us.
to do an undercarriage on a dozer.
Yeah, that was the big
60,
expense.
70,000. So I
That
think
not in here?
what Wayne's trying
It's
to.
in there, and that's what's causing. Now, if that was tracking along with the revenues being under, if that wasn't in there, you wouldn't have a deficit here in the solid waste fund year to date on the budget. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I'm trying to explain why you have that deficit there. It's a combination of revenues down and this expense that we've already gone through for the year, that undercarriage, that basically wiped out the whole repair and maintenance line item inside the landfill's budget.
I see. Okay. Let me
Because
ask
if you were
this.
only at 33%, you would have you'd be about break even instead of
ask
at
you
a
this.
deficit.
The GMA reimbursement, do we know what that number is? Would that go towards the revenue side of this?
Yes,
Do you know what that number is?
I don't just yet, but,
So that's gonna be an income picker up right there,
Yeah.
but we've already paid the expense, we're gonna be reimbursed, so that's gonna be, I guess, other.
There'll be other revenue,
miscellaneous
other
income.
miscellaneous revenue that comes in
Right.
later.
So, assuming there's $100-ish thousand in that, I don't know what it'd be, but whatever that number is, that's gonna help offset that loss, I think, in some
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
All right. You got any detailed questions, you need to ask him after the meeting.
Well, it's not detailed. I mean, 17% expenditures is good if you're looking for 33. My question is, this all looks good, okay? That scares me, in that we're a third through, and all the expenses are below, the totals are below where we've expected them to be. So the question is there something out there that we need to be worried about that says this isn't as rosy a picture, because this is a very rosy picture, and that, you know, and we're not at 33% on any of the expenditures in total. So,
I don't know of anything major right now out there floating around. That
you understand what,
yeah.
you know, this is all wonderful.
For Vista pay liability, right?
Yeah, liability insurance will be coming up here, but that's an annual renewal, that's a one-time thing.
Okay, but that's what I'm looking at. Are there some other one-time things, and this thing's gonna shift next time when we look at this in January and all of a
Well, when
sudden?
you look at this, it'll probably January, we pay that one.
I think, and then you pay workers' comp too coming
Yeah,
up.
so you're gonna have those two things coming up, there's like the annual thing that will hit.
those are annual and those are budgeted. So
That's budgeted.
I would say that we're on a good glide path, and the first quarter is usually like this. We'll see, you know, just as we hover, but as taxes are collected, and then we go without tax collection for 2 months, you'll start seeing this level off. So by January, February, we should be at a
Yeah,
pretty
and
good
I've gotten
projection.
past, the revenue is,
Yeah.
is what it is. The expenditures, which we can control,
Right.
are in excellent shape. I just want to, be sure that there's not something that we're not seeing and we're not sitting back fat, numb and happy that, boy, this is great, till February and all of a sudden it just, well, we didn't realize.
Well, November was a 3 pay period month too, wasn't it?
Yeah, all that will be.
Yeah. We shouldn't impact.
So you'll have a pretty good, but there is nothing lurking.
Okay.
I just think the departments are managing very well, and by 6-month mark, we'll have a pretty good projection on how we're gonna finish, so.
I mean, it's excellent numbers, no question.
Okay.
What was our fire, insurance rebate?
That should be coming soon.
Yeah, that should be.
Insurance
Comes-
premium tax?
I normally comes in
Insurance
October,
tax.
November.
What month is that usually coming?
It usually hits in October.
It shouldn't be long. We should see.
Just curious. I like that. I like hearing that number. It's always a good number.
All right, any other questions of Wayne, of the
None at all.
financial report? Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate that. And if you have questions, go see Wayne after the meeting. City manager report,
Mayor, I don't have anything tonight.
okay? All right, anything else to come before the council? All right, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
you wanna adjourn? Raise your hand.
Jack, and
I got some food, so we're gonna spend the night. I packed me a lunch. So, we're gonna eat here tonight.
Sound like it at first.